This week on Hermitcraft.
Blast off! Here he goes!
Worth every dollar paid for After Effects. Welcome to the Hermitcraft Recap. My name is PixelRiffs, our writer is LoyXP, and on Tango Tech's whim, we will be turning into sports commentators for a good half of this script.
That's a recipe for fun, isn't it? I mean, what more can I say? We're just going to be exploding one another in this rather incredible, but also very, very, very risky building that Tango has constructed.
For the bad half of this script, we will be talking assassination, biohazards, and crimes against nature. But first and foremost, we have to give props to Tango for pulling off a 9-way collab recording in a community that is infamously as herdable as cats. Maybe the promise of blowing each other up had something to do with it. We'll find out in a few moments. But with that out of the way, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week. Starting with Grian because... Yep. Now deradiated to his regular self, Grian nevertheless cannot resist trying out the Unmumbler machine from last week. Turns out there's not much to untangle about him at the moment, so the machine just shrugs and does what can only be described as the opposite of chiropractic.
Hold on, let me just move my head a little bit.
This isn't even his final form. Having now wasted nearly a stack of diamonds on the machine, Grian arrives to the Boombox tournament as the most asymmetrical bodybuilder, counting no doubt on the intimidation factor, which is ironic considering that he spends most of the first round completely invisible.
Is that you, Grian?
Here. Take that potion. You go invisible as well. Oh, wait, come on.
I can't.
You're gonna have to back up, Mumbo.
Now, while the Boombox has several built-in game modes, the one we're focusing on today is the Capture the Flag setting. 2 teams of 2 must navigate the labyrinth, full of item drop-offs, water, and the other team, to the opposite side of the arena, blow up their way into the enemy's base, grab their flag, represented by a wool block, and deliver it back to their home base to score.
Try and get him.
I'm in a wall.
Uh-oh.
It's fine. I blew up anyway.
Cubfan and False put up a fair fight, but Mumbo and Grian just kept lucking out on invisibility, and as it turns out, you can't blow up what you can't see.
Oh my goodness, we're gonna do it. Move out the way.
Have you got it?
Yes, it's in. It's in.
Woo!
Woo!
We won! We won! I can't believe we actually won. We are so useless. How did we win?
This was not helped by Cub at first not understanding the rules and throwing the flag wool at the barrel instead of putting it in. The item pickup threw Docm for a loop as well. At one point, instead of any explosives, he kept finding ender pearls, and while handy to skip on some corners, they still don't do an awful lot when deployed in a dense labyrinth.
I'm gonna try to run one more time, so maybe we can equalize, but
Okay.
I cannot blow them up.
I don't have anything to blow them up with, and they're gonna come out with a flag.
No.
Team Dog Impulse ended up losing to the Zedaf Azuma alliance, which was unfortunate in one sense, as Azuma had other responsibilities that day. Luckily for us, he totally ditched those to play Minecraft with his best friends, and was definitely not replaced by an Infinity Stone altered Cub fan.
Alright, gentlemen, we are here for the championship game. Team Grian and Team Mumbo. And
Absolutely.
Zedaf and Team Azuma Zedaf, right?
Yes, Azuma kind of had to go, so...
The swap that didn't happen really worked out in the end. Now more adept in how to play the game, Cubzuma worked really well with Zedaf, who must have heard a fair amount about Boombox, seeing how Tango is his stream buddy and is perpetually pumped about the games he designs. They still had to face the 90°ian and his sidekick Regular Man, by which we mean the arena was a little more stingy on invisibility this time around.
1 defense, 1 offense.
1 defense. Right, who's going to be the defense and the offense before we drop in?
You choose.
But their ultimate downfall came with Zedaf discovering the Q button. Even on their top defense game, Grian and Mumbo just didn't notice that the flag was passed from one opponent to another, the blue flag being the same color as the water.
I'm gonna grab it. Okay.
You got it. Look at that. We just did a pass off. That was pro.
Nice. Try and make it back.
GG. Good stuff.
Good game, man. Good game. Good teamwork. Woo.
It was Exuma.
Exuma had it.
They traded, apparently.
Oh, that is some sneaky maneuver.
Sneaky.
So in the end, they were chasing entirely the wrong ZF, while the right ZF, who was technically a Zoomer but was actually Cub fan, delivered the tiebreaker, scoring the win.
You win
Like I
Mumbo's
should have a cup
mustache.
or something, but I got nothing for you. Here, you guys get this torch. There you go.
Yay!
Torch.
Now having fulfilled his purpose, he can leap back into his native body lest he turns British forever.
Well, that went better than I expected.
Wow, I just suddenly had the urge to drink tea all of a sudden.
As for the guy who already is British forever, the nausea got the better of him, and he squished himself back into the proper shape using the most spaghetti redstone imaginable.
3, 2, 1. And did it work? Hey, we're back to normal.
Yet somehow all this wasn't the only TNT-based hijinks on the server this week. BdoubleO still has a belated Christmas present to deliver to False Symmetry's base, and he decides the best way to drop it off is to fire it into orbit first. After dragging this totally legit Elder Guardian out into the plains below his castle, he arranges a TNT cannon underneath it and sends the whole thing sky high, because Minecraft needed more flying fish.
Wonderful landing, Danny. Fantastic job. Oh, face first at that. Great work, my friend.
With that out of the way, after a quick heart-to-heart with his audience, he makes another delivery, taking his prototype medieval skin-correcting machine apart and reassembling it in the grounds of Hermitland. For the low price of 1 diamond, you too can have this machine do push-ups for you. As with other things turned sideways, False finds the Elder Guardian utterly confusing at first.
I mean, this is pretty accurate for False though, right? Or is this just like a weird, alien sculpture? I'm not sure. I'm digging it though.
Perhaps the skin-coloured clay was a little disorienting when the real deal is more grey-yellow. Still, she can see the resemblance once she's told what it's supposed to be, which is as good as we can hope for sometimes in this game made entirely of blocks. Blocks that would be available for purchase were she to wait for Iskal's concrete shop to stock up.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's done yet. So I guess we'll leave it and hope that we've got enough concrete.
Unfortunately, she has no structured settlement and she needs concrete now. There are 2 nice plots of land left in the modern district just waiting to be built on.
And I think I've got an idea as to sort of what kind of blocks I want to use.
So, continuing her quest of making the main Hermitcraft area presentable, False fills in the white rectangles, even if it does cost her all of her quartz and marbles.
If you guessed that I wouldn't have enough quartz for 2 roofs, you'd be right. Dang it.
The wind of finishing things hits Zombie Cleo as well. It's the finishing touches to the island of Tortuga, now more alive than ever, even though the Armour Stand residents are forever frozen in time, fish mid-air.
And the travelling, I guess this is the story about how the travelling salesman became travelling and by small children. And then he proceeded to lose most of his stock by throwing it at the small children.
It's a touching goodbye to a season-long project, but not a touching goodbye to a season-long Cleo, seeing how the Juggernaut is still there and half-decorated, as well as her generally not being that easy to get rid of. And come the day, we can still have imposter skeletons.
Okay, so okay, so this is what I assume happened. This skeleton has shot me and has taken my skin and is wearing it as a trophy. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna need me back now.
The invasion of the Body Snatchers didn't go far, but it was entertaining while it lasted. Docm, having survived a close encounter with the Man Flu, returns to his raid farm, where he's been terraforming a section of terrain below it, ready for a giant alien tunnel bore. This is quite the land grab. The next stage of the raid farm is figuring out the exact timings of a villager's work cycle and setting up a beacon to highlight when they clock in and out. After some careful experiments in a creative world, he puts a timer on the server triggered by a villager approaching its workstation. But then random pathfinding kicks in, so the only solution is to build a sensory deprivation tank for the villager, making sure no outside stimuli or nearby blocks can interfere with his desire to work.
And the guy stays in place perfectly. And now even when our timer has ran out, he should not move about anywhere. And the next time he moves is when he hops into the bed. Man, yes, I'm very happy with this. Yeah, see, always good to never give up. Just keep on, stick with it, and you will find a good solution eventually.
His Boombox teammate ImpulseSV has a similar approach to storage. If he can't see it, it's not a problem. So he spends some time clearing away all the shulker boxes around his storage system into a chest on the other side of the wall. Mischief managed. After a quick trip to the holiday district to fix his item elevator within the mini golf course, he returns to the surface level part of his base, a cliffside mansion overlooking the bay. It's been vacant for a while thanks to the fact that most of his base is underground, and the squatters have definitely moved in. Realizing he'd darkened the whole thing so he could lure a zombie down to his new iron farm, Impulse grabs a handful of torches and dispatches all the intruders, including this chicken.
Right here, but okay, and then there's a chicken up here. You can tell I'd never actually... Oops. That was a free-range chicken. I kind of feel bad.
Once the inside is safe again for human habitation, he connects it to the rest of iBase with a stylish staircase.
I didn't really like the idea of, so I think the lanterns ended up looking pretty good. So you can see I did all the way up. This actually took me a lot longer than I thought it was going to take.
On the less explosive side of the gaming district, Rendog is revving his engines as he puts the finishing touches to the Sahara Speedy Pines Raceway. With the team garages fully built out and available to his server mates for a one-off fee of 50 diamonds apiece, Ren gives us a walkthrough of the facility, a summary of the best practices for posting a lap time, and an explanation of how much prize money is at stake in the fastest lap competition.
And as we can see, first place is going to win 200 diamonds, second place is going to win 100 diamonds, and third place is going to win 50 freaking diamonds.
Back at his Dragon Town in the Fantasy District, he continues to practice the Zen of balance, building a yin-yang inspired flower farm which, while manually grown, flushes all the flowers down their very own theme park water slide, ready to be turned into dyes for his fireworks crafting operation. Speaking of people who are spiraling, Iskall has ended up using most of the concrete he wanted to sell on building the shop that's going to sell it. And he wanted to add more to the top, but the concrete maker keeps blowing bits of itself up.
Which is a little bit awkward, I gotta say, because I need this to be stocked. I need this thing to make diamonds for me.
So he does what any reasonable person would do and coats the roof in green slime instead. His other business ventures are going a lot better, since Run has taken in 2 stacks of diamonds since he last checked, but it's still not enough to bring back his rich skull suit, and he's convinced the only solution to his skin problems is to throw the money at them. So he decides to sell the one unique resource he has left, his own life. Having won demise and furthermore survived for 7 full 24-hour days of gameplay since the competition began, Iskall sets up a giant preemptive tombstone where he will auction off to the highest bidder the opportunity to kill him in any way they like.
Auction is silent. If you do not win the auction, you get your diamonds back. To the winner, you may kill me in any way you seem fit. Once.
If it was up to us, we'd want him to die during a game of Siege of Doom, just to prolong the agony of his immortality because we're not sure it's ever going to happen. Stress Monster is also trying to get her bank account back in better shape, especially when she keeps having to buy her food from Sahara, although their new cashback scheme works out in her favour occasionally.
Some stupid golden carrots and then I get presented with... I'm gonna get that.
But since her main way of acquiring blue shiny things is by selling other blue shiny things, it's time for a Major League advertising campaign for her various ice shops, which this week involves icing over the signs for both the shopping district and Hermitland, although she has to remove the land from the latter sign because I'm pretty sure Iceland isn't for sale. However, once she investigates Iskall's giant tombstone, she realises she's going to have to get hold of some diamonds a little quicker if she wants to win the bidding war. Yes, to reiterate, she finds out she can kill Iskall if she pays highly enough and immediately goes mining for diamonds.
How amazing would it be to actually kill Iskall in my inventory? Yeah. You think I should do 3.5 stacks? Yeah. Oh.
Once her macabre bid is placed, she returns to the ice fort to build a blacksmithing room for 2 villagers, whom she promptly puts in the oven. Although, they seem to be fine, so maybe it's just what the castle passes for heating. And finally there's Cubfan, freshly rinsed of Azuma residue, looking into making a Concorp drone factory. Now that the Civil War is long past us and Area 77 is not worth spying on, one can only assume that he just likes his RC helicopters. And who can blame him when they deploy a payload of several stacks of TNT with a single click of a button? Now who would win in a fight, this warehouse or Scar's Securitron plant from back in Wildberry Village?
Check it out. There we go.
And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is LoyXP, and my name is PixelRibs. We continue to be surprised, menaced, and baffled by chickens in our Chicken Block series. It's Skyblock, but the poultry has seized the means of production, and the latest episode can be found in the End Screen Theatre. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.